Yo, what's up YouTube? This is Gresnick and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we are reacting to Film Theory. The Backrooms are closing in on you. Yay, another horror video from Film Theory. 2 weeks in a row, rather surprising. So as always, like and subscribe to the Film Theorists and myself. Comment down below what you'll want me to react to, how you're feeling, and how excited you are for the Backrooms movie, as I am very excited for it. So let's get into the video.
The Backrooms just got even more terrifying. The first real trailer for the Backrooms movie has finally dropped, and it gives us our first real look at just how scary this world can be beyond the found footage. And let me just say, it's gonna melt your brain. Hello Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, the show that found a portal to the subscribe button in our basement. Here, check it out. It's pretty cool, right? Why don't you go ahead and click it and help us find our way back out, because I don't actually know how to get out of here. So at this point, you probably know what the Backrooms is. There's a mysterious alternate dimension or something full of yellow hallways and bacteria monsters that people seem to keep slipping into, or no-clipping into, from the real world. And if you find yourself in there, you're probably never getting out. And what started out as a creepypasta meme eventually became a top-tier YouTube horror web series, which itself has now become a feature film about to release in just a month and a half. Man, between this and Iron Lung, we fans of YouTube are just eating good this year. It's only been a few weeks since we got the first teaser trailer for the Backrooms movie from Kane Pixels and A24, but we already have another trailer. This one's showing us way more about the movie. Yeah, we get character names, our first real look at what a big-budget live-action Backrooms is gonna look like, found footage that looks like the web series, and hold the phone, we got a hazmat suit, guys. Let me tell you, I've been a huge fan of the world that Kane crafted here for years. I worked as an editor on our very first Backrooms video we did here on Film Theory, and I felt like we've had such a drought of content while Kane was off actually making this movie, and man, analog horror is really just in a renaissance, let me tell you what. I have a lot of plans about revisiting the Backrooms with a big project, hopefully before the movie releases, but with all of this new info packed into this trailer, you just know I basically had to drop everything and cover it. And let me just say, based on what we see here, it looks like my previous theory about the Backrooms being some sort of strange entity suffering from mental decline might have way more merit than even I thought at first glance. So no need to keep dragging this one out, loyal theorists. Tape a border around the portal in the wall. We're no-clipping right on in. The trailer starts with a shot of the outside of a furniture store called Captain Clark's Ottoman Empire. First of all, I love the fantastic name, and we already have a ton more information about the movie. Like, based on another clip in the trailer where another character says Clark, I'm almost positive that Chiwetel Ejiofor's character is going to be named Clark and that he's clearly the owner of this furniture store. Secondly, all of the cars here are very old school 80s or 90s coded designs. And we also see a bunch of costumes for the movie that give off that same time frame, though they should probably consider checking out our 10-year anniversary hoodie and hat over at Theoryverse.store. Once they're gone, they're gone. Anyway, given that most of the Backrooms takes place during that time frame, it makes sense that the movie would too. And in fact, we have another shot later in the trailer that confirms this by giving us the date, June 29th, 1990. If you're keeping track of the Backrooms timeline, and if you're not, keep an eye out because I want to do a video about that soon. That puts us right after the end of Static Dead End, which takes place on May 29th, 1990, according to the description. Also, just from the first few frames of this trailer, we also have an Easter egg to talk about. Take a listen to the music that's playing in the background here. That's a version of the song 647 by Instupendo, a song commonly associated with analog horror, liminal spaces, and the Backrooms in viral edits and memes online. Man, everything about this film just seems really in tune with the audience, and you'll love to see it. Kane did great work here, man. Anyway, we pull into the store where we see a bunch of the furniture on sale, and a bunch of signs saying that the entire store is on sale, with some things up to 75% off and no credit needed. So either Clark here is being very generous, or the store isn't doing too hot and he's just trying to sell, well, anything really. Futurely here, but after I wrote and recorded this, A24 released a viral ad for Captain Clark's that just has this actor going ham.
Price is so low, you'll think that you're robbing me!
There's actually a number here that's a fax number, which leads you to this PDF. It's an ad for the store, and it actually tells us where this takes place. It's a strip mall in San Jose, California, and actually looks identical to the location in the film, obviously without the store from the 90s in there. I love this so much. Anyway,
really
back to
funny.
the video. The further
That's
we get
really
into the
funny,
store, we see
actually.
Clark looking very confused at, well, like a small slit in the wall. Yeah, there's a tiny beam of light coming through the wall of his store before it slowly vanishes. Clark walks up to the wall, putting his hand and ear up against it before he falls into the back rooms. Yeah, we see Clark standing up in the
crazy
back
shot.
rooms, and can I just say, it looks so strange to see a high-quality cinematic shot in the back rooms when so much of it has been grainy, VHS quality found footage. Regardless,
Yeah, it's
Clark stands
insane
up and
seeing
sees
the
a weird
difference.
pile of furniture in the middle of the store, related, I assume, to the fact that this portal into the back rooms is located in a furniture store. And it's here where I also want to point out that putting that portal in a furniture store here in the film was inspired for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the original Backrooms image that started off this entire thing, that inspired Kane to make this series, is actually a photo from a furniture store in Wisconsin. The origin of
really?
that
I didn't
original
know that.
photo was only discovered in 2024, most likely long after Kane would have been working on this script with writer Will Sudik, but it's a fun coincidence anyway. And secondly, one of the more famous entries in the SCP Wiki is known as the Infinite IKEA. Obviously,
Yes.
the Backrooms and the SCP Foundation are not necessarily connected,
No.
but this particular SCP was very similar to the
It'd be funny if they
Backrooms
were.
concept. So a portal to an infinite dimension of rooms in the basement of a furniture store like IKEA? Man, I love to see it. I mean, being real, I'd be pretty happy with the sheer amount of new real estate this warehouse has now with this portal into the Backrooms. It's got to feel like a nice check in their pockets, but saving even more money is easy with
I
a sponsor
smell
for
an ad.
today's theory, Chime.
Oh, it's another Chime one. Whenever you see ads on YouTube for like sponsors, it's always like the same like 20 things, I swear. Use their code and stuff to support them. I don't care.
Field savings account. Thank you again to Chime for sponsoring this video, and
They ain't
let's get
sponsoring
back
me, so
into
I
the
don't care.
Backrooms trailer. Next, Clark walks around a bit before looking
Support
down
the
a
people I
long
react to,
hallway,
though.
only to see the silhouette of a person. Not gonna lie, I kind of jumped here. Is that a monster? Someone else trapped down here in the Backrooms?
think
Well,
it's a mannequin.
neither, actually. If you notice, it doesn't move. It almost looks like it's a cardboard cutout of a person, right? And that's because it is. This is actually the same cardboard cutout of a caveman we see in the Found Footage 3 video. This is clearly not in the same location as that
Oh,
video,
really?
which means one
Huh.
of three
That's
things.
fun.
Either the cutout was moved in between those videos, there's more than one basically identical cutout here in the Backrooms, not impossible given just how many copies of, well, everything there is down here, or the cardboard cutout is actually alive and moved on its own. That last one doesn't seem
my
super
favorite
likely to me
entity, the
personally.
cardboard
I'd
cutout.
probably go with the idea that there are multiple cutouts. We also hear some strange voices here in the background.
हम जमीन के रहने वालों की तरफ से
But we will get back to that, I promise. For now, over top all of this, we've also been getting a voiceover from Clark, similar to what we heard in the first teaser.
I found something in the store.
After a few more shots of Clark wandering around, seeing the strange and weird geometry of the backrooms, and coming across out-of-place objects like a stop sign, we see and hear the woman played by Renata Reinsova say,
I'm not saying I don't believe you.
the two are in an office setting with what
Therapy.
looks like diplomas on the wall. It looks like our speculation that Reinsova is playing Clark's therapist in the last video was correct. Oh, and we also get Reinsova's character name in a brief blink and you miss it moment. Yeah, right after this, for one frame in the VHS static, you can see what looks like
Mary
an old
Klein.
advertisement for a self-help book called The Window Within with Reinsova's face on it, written by Dr. Mary Klein. So there you go, we have our
Klein.
main character names now, Clark and Mary. Oh, and a couple more thoughts about this book. Firstly, I adore that they're using classic analog horror techniques even in this big budget film. Like, I did not have going frame by frame looking for lore on my bingo card for the trailers for this movie, but I'm happy to be wrong. Secondly, the name of this book, The Window Within, and talking about breaking through the pane of glass is how I assume that's going to end, is also very thematic and on brand for the Backrooms, right? Especially if our current thought process about the Backrooms being some sort of strange misremembering of the world by an entity is right. We are looking through the window go into the world within their broken mind. Or maybe that's just me being overly poetic. Given how much thought Kane's put into this series though, I'm thinking not. Back in Mary's office, let's re-examine the conversation that these two are having. Clark is trying to convince Mary that he's discovered the Backrooms, this strange alternate dimension that goes on and on and on. And obviously, that sounds a bit out there, and Clark understands that.
Look, I know how this sounds, but you gotta understand, it's massive in there.
Thus, Mary's skepticism.
I'm not saying I don't believe you.
Okay.
Clearly, the dynamic that they're setting up here is one where Clark is trying to convince people of this wild, impossible thing that he's actually found. And it's here where I have to say that Clark also does two things very intelligently. Like, wow, a horror film character that actually puts some thought into things? Wild.
Yeah, funny.
So, one, we see that he's made a little map of the Backrooms, sketching out the layout so he doesn't get lost as easily in there. I tried to see if there was a connection to previous locations we visited in the web series,
Yeah,
and while there
I
might
thought
be
there
some
was.
references here or there, like that room with all the plush-shaped pillars, nothing really seemed to line up one-to-one. But secondly, Clark says,
I'm gonna come back here with proof.
so he is going in to actually prove that something's there, instead of just ranting and raving about it so people don't believe him. Clark is a smart cookie. We then cut to shots of a VHS camcorder? Yeah, this is the proof that Clark is going to get. He recruited two of his friends, a camcorder, and a bunch of gear, and they're gonna go film an adventure in the Backrooms. Honestly, this is a really clever way to get some of that found footage vibe from the original web series
gonna be
back
so
into
fun,
this
I
film
bet.
without making the
I'm
whole
so excited to
project
see
found
this.
footage. Also probably helped save a bit on the budget, so, you know, that was
Yeah.
smart. Anyway, we see several shots of this impromptu expedition into the Backrooms. Hey, Future Lee here again, popping in to say that I just noticed that this is the stop sign from earlier in the trailer. Yeah, you know, the one that's like in the Backrooms and like oddly flipped? That means Clark and his friends have taken stuff out of the Backrooms, which I think might be one of the first
weird.
cases of that happening. Like Async might have done it at some point, but just something that jumped out at me while I was giving notes here on the edit and I wanted to add in. Anyway, back to the video. More weird rooms, piles of furniture, and a room with statues or mannequins that have been sunken into the floor. There's also a Christmas tree here, which might be a reference to level 941 of the Backrooms wiki. To be clear, that is a separate canon that's not directly connected to Kane's version of the Backrooms at all, but it's said to look like a home decorated for Christmas time. It's fun if this is indeed meant to be a little tip of the hat, but it could go either way.
It's
Clark
fun.
then explains that.
I've been there every night since I found the place, and I still barely scratched the surface.
So, understandably, he's gotten a little obsessed. As we hear this, we see
I
Clark
would be
and one of his
too.
friends tie another friend to a rope so they can rappel down a hole. Camera then glitches and we see a disturbing scene. A much dirtier area with what I think are piles of clothes at the bottom of a big chasm. There's also a lot of gross black gunk on the walls here, which, well, if you've seen the original Backrooms video, you know what that probably
Bacteria.
is. Given the editing of the trailer, it seems like this is supposed to be whatever's at the bottom of the hole that Clark sent his friend down, since something spooks him and he yells.
Pull me up, pull me up, pull me up!
We also hear what sounds like a monster roar, most likely a lifeform fellow that is chasing this
Probably
poor
the bacteria.
guy. We then have a montage of a few scenes. Mary watching television in her home, Clark finding a bag hidden inside of a wall. It's unclear if this is something Clark left behind or something a different survivor hid that Clark is now stumbling upon. There are more odd rooms and found footage style shots, and one of them actually has like wheels that you'd find at the helm of a ship, maybe referencing Captain Clark's store from the beginning of the trailer. There's also a shot of Clark trying to get back through the wall and out of the Backrooms. I assume that this is from the sequence where he first finds it and is trying to figure out what's happened and get back out. And finally, another VHS found footage clip of someone running in an area that's an exact recreation of the original Backrooms image. First of all,
so
love the
neat.
little Easter egg. And secondly, this is actually the second time that Kane has done something like this. In Found Footage 3, the POV character briefly looks at a wall that is identical to that original image. At first, I wondered if this was like literally the same area and they were connecting the web series and the film. But at closer inspection, they're similar but different. There's no chair or like mini bar slash wall in the film, but it's still neat and I love that they did this.
Maybe the
Clark
Backrooms
also finds a camera linked
ever-changing,
to
so
something
who knows?
behind a sealed door. And we also get a shot from the camera's point of view in what looks like a control room of some sort. Where is this? Well, if I had to guess, it's Async headquarters. Yeah, right after this, we also get a shot of 3 hazmat guys in the Backrooms. Async's back back on the menu, boys. It's unclear how much they're going to be involved with this story, but it's so cool that they're actually in the movie, especially since it seems like Clark and Mary don't have any connection to them. We get to expand this world without completely leaving this huge part of Kane's lore behind. Now, what's actually happening in this shot is also interesting. There seems to be an alarm blaring. One of the hazmat guys is stumbling backwards and is caught by another one who's also wearing green for some reason. No idea what that could signify. Like, maybe it's a different rank or department of async, or maybe it's a copy of a person from the Backrooms. Probably not, but hey, it was cool to think about. A third guy also runs in from the back as the first dude is holding some sort of pressurized container. To me, this looks like they just got jump scared by something. Maybe a lifeform fellow? Or maybe Clark. That'd be kind of funny, not gonna lie. Also, before we leave this shot, you notice that weird mural behind the async employees? It has like a beachfront on it, but it's also weirdly stretched and just feels wrong. Well, that's not the only place we see this image in the teaser. In this shot, we see that same mural in the background of Captain Clark's, but correctly sized. So it appears like that's hard confirmation that a lot of what we're seeing in the Backrooms is what's actually in the real world, but just misremembered in some way. It's exactly what was described in the teaser and is lining up with what we were thinking in our previous theory. Next, Mary sits in bed before going to the furniture store looking for Clark, and finding where Clark and his friends have marked the entrance to the Backrooms with tape. I like a lot of the details here in the shot. You can see a whiteboard where they've mapped out part of the Backrooms area, and the table and mirror that we see earlier in the trailer as Clark and his friends plan their little expedition. Anyway, Mary tentatively touches the wall and then walks through it into the Backrooms. Over top of this, we also hear Clark say,
It's beautiful. Am I right?
Not gonna lie, this sounds ominous.
Weird.
Like Clark has somehow lost his mind in these hallways. The trailer then leans hard into the horror idea, showing just how alone Mary is in the Backrooms. That caveman cutout is gone in the shot of the long hallway, so maybe it does move, or was just taken somewhere. And we then see a very claustrophobic shot of Mary running inside of a thin hallway covered in grime and blood, looking terrified. She's either encountered one of the lifeform fellows, or async, or maybe Clark has gone insane and attacked her and she's trying to escape. Either way, this hallway shot is awesome and very effective, and just, man, I'm so looking forward to this. This is probably my favorite image from the trailer. We then cut to black and cue title card. Okay, so there's just so much going on here, man. I mean, we talked for 5 pages about this, and I have even more. In fact, I have 2 giant points that we just have to talk about. First off, let's go back to those strange voices we hear early in the trailer, shall we? Yeah, remember when Clark first enters the Backrooms and we hear this?
हम जमीन के रहने वालों की
Clearly, things are being said in a foreign language, or maybe multiple foreign languages. And as I was searching for what they were actually saying, I realized that this was actually something very familiar to me. How? Well, this is a recording from one of the famous Voyager Golden Records. Stick with me, this is very relevant. If you don't know, the Voyager space program was a project NASA underwent in the 1970s where they launched 2 spacecraft, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, into deep space. The probes gathered a lot of information about the planets and bodies in the outer solar system, like Jupiter, Saturn, and more, and then both were sent out of the solar system itself. That was always the plan. They were probes sent away from the sun, and on the off chance that someday, in billions of years, that they'd be discovered by intelligent life, NASA included a golden record on both that had a ton of information on them. This included a bunch of math to prove our intelligence, a map back to the solar system, physical aspects of the human body, photographs of life on Earth, and audio recordings of various sounds from Earth, wildlife, music, brainwaves, that sort of thing. It was a beautiful project, in my opinion. I love the idea of the golden record. I actually have a replica of it in my home, and I want to get the map tattooed on my arm someday. But most importantly for us, and why we're talking about it now, well, some of the other audio recordings included on the record was a compilation of various greetings from around the world, recorded in dozens of different languages. That is what we're hearing here. Specifically, you can hear it really well in the Urdu recording. Here, check it out.
हम जमीन के रहने वालों की
हम जमीन के रहने
वालों की
This is a phrase translating to peace on you. We, the inhabitants of this earth, send our greetings to you. And that just has so many implications. Are the Backrooms some sort of alien construct built after they discovered the Voyager probe and tracked it back to Earth? Or are the Backrooms somehow remembering the messages from these probes but wrong and distorted? I mean, golden record and yellow wallpaper? That's kind of interesting. Or is this just cool, creepy audio that they included as a deep cut that doesn't have any major bearing on the plot? Maybe, but that's the least fun option. We've also talked in detail in past theories about how the Backrooms seem to be messing with time, and, well, space and time are connected. Perhaps the Backrooms can mess with space too. Anyway, that's not the only thing I wanted to talk about from this trailer. The second thing actually comes from this scene, where Mary is approaching the portal where it's been marked by tape on the wall. Just on the face of things, this is a fun shot because it feels so, I'm not sure how to describe it, like raw? Like someone is really trying to problem solve in this situation. But while myself and all of the team were talking about this trailer, one of our thumbnail artists pointed out that this looks very similar to another piece of art. And it's one that absolutely adds a mountain of evidence to my previous theory about the Backrooms and its memory failing. See, the tape on the wall here looks a lot like this piece of art, doesn't it? Well, this is the cover of Volume 6 of the musical art piece known as Everywhere at the End of Time by The Caretaker. And you might be thinking, hey, that's kinda random, and I mean fair, it sort of is. But just listen to this. Everywhere at the End of Time is a musical project released between 2016 and 2019 that was meant to represent the mind of a character called the patient in a mental hospital. It cycles through their life events using old ballroom music to represent joy and anxiety, horror and despair. And the further it goes on, the more degraded the music becomes. These albums are supposed to represent the mind of someone living with and suffering from dementia, someone losing all of their memories and cognitive functions. And this 6th volume, with the cover with the tape, it represents the end of that patient's life when they were at the worst of it. I mean, come on, I can't help but see the connection here. This Backrooms movie is talking about how it's remembering these rooms and places wrong, and it's using imagery similar to this famous musical project. Everywhere at the End of Time is highly regarded amongst other artists, and based off of everything I know about Kane, it's exactly the sort of project I think he would really respect. Its symbolism is powerful, and you have to work to understand it, just like his works like The Oldest View. And its themes are connected to where Kane is taking the Backrooms. I don't think I'm looking too deeply into tape on a wall here. This is just more confirmation that the Backrooms themselves are like a universe or entity suffering from dementia, and I cannot wait to see where Kane takes this movie. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. Up next on Film Theory, the Backrooms movie is almost here.
I'm so excited for it. Man. Get off my screen. I'm just so excited to see what the Backrooms movie is going to have to offer to me. And, like, I can't wait for the movie to come out because like, a week or 3 after it comes out, we're going to get, like, a deep dive theory on it. So I am so excited. So, as always, like and subscribe to the Film Theorists and myself. Comment down below anything you want me to react to, how you're doing, and how excited you are for this movie. And I will see you next time. Goodbye.